Hello, and welcome to Sequoia Penguin Gaming, a developing series? Developing a game? I don't know what I want to call this type of video form. Gonna try something different out where I basically just work on the game, but I'm gonna have a specific area or topic in mind, and kind of just talk about what I'm doing, what I'm thinking, and trial and error some stuff, and we can kind of learn together a little bit, maybe. Today, what made me think of this could be a good one is I'm gonna start working on making a larger map for the game, and working with the Unity terrain editor a lot, and trying to see what kind of things I can do with that. Maybe some best practices, learning the hard way, that kind of thing. So that's the intent. And I'll try to talk through my thoughts when relevant. But I'm not gonna. I think there's gonna be some downtime where I'm just kind of tinkering with things, and I'll see how I want to edit that. But I don't intend this to be just like a live stream where, you know, I will hopefully do some editing to this poor video. But to get us started, double check everything's good on the recording side. So this is our new scene. We've got the demo scene right here, and you guys can see that the map not very big, and that was intentional. I wanted to have just kind of a small to medium sized space that focused on just your house, and I think it might keep it that way for the future, you know, prologue / demo chapter, being act, whatever I'm gonna call it, to kind of ease you into the game. But for later chapters, we want to include all sorts of stuff about our neighboring houses, what they're up to, and just have a much more rich world in general. So we're gonna need to expand this. So I've done a little bit of tinkering already, and I'll highlight some things with the terrain editor for how I made this. The first step, I was hoping I would be able to just like expand the terrain. I'll show you what that looks like. So I gotta turn some stuff off first. Okay, I'm just covering up this corner. Okay. So my first instinct was, okay, I'm gonna expand this. And in the terrain details, you got some options down here for mesh resolution. I'll collapse some things here. And I was like, oh, width. I want it to be wider. So I'll just pump it up. That doesn't quite work though, because it doesn't just say, okay, of your existing stuff, I'm going to staple some terrain on the edges. No, it stretches the existing terrain data. So my pumpkins are now spread out. My rows are long and stretched, and everything's going to look bad. In general, I like, this is unusable because like the pad for the barn is real messed up. Where is the barn? I'm just gonna drop it in, but like, oh, you know, like the watchtower is now tiny compared to the road, that kind of thing. Is the barn in here for some reason? Oh, there it is. Like, nothing is gonna be sized right anymore. So this is not gonna work. Plus, this isn't what I wanted. I liked the original area, and I'm trying to preserve that. So what we need to do instead, and they've got functionality for this. Ugh, these drop downs. Is what I've done here already. which is basically I have now lots of little terrain meshes that border each other, and I was a little worried at first that this was gonna suck, but the terrains have a grouping ID, and as long as they all match when we're working in the editor, so let's say I'm raising the terrain. If I come like over here where there's a seam, we'll be able to see, you're able to work seamlessly on both chunks of terrain at the same time, both meshes, without thinking about the seam. So that's super slick, and all you gotta do is there's this little button, create neighbor terrains, and it'll highlight spaces where it can see that, oh, I could add a bordering terrain here. So I've done that, and then I've raised everything up. Because what I learned is you can't actually lower terrain. You can lower terrain. Oops. You just have to hold control to decrease the height when you're clicking. But it's got a minimum. Like, you cannot go lower than y equals 0 in your scene. Which was fine so far, because all I did was make hills. But if I want to make like a valley thing, I didn't want to run into the bottom of the world. So I moved everything up. I guess I don't know how tall this is. How tall is everything right now? Oh, I think I physically raised the height of the terrain. That's what I did. So all the terrain has the same height. Because I think if you just move the transform, you don't get the effect that you want. So I did that too. But yeah, now we're ready to do our thing. Gonna get rid of this hole that I made. There we go. So creatively, what are our goals? I want there to be... I like our starting area. I want there to be two different things accomplished by how we lay out major terrain features. One is, I would like the borders between our houses be kind of natural. Because I think that is a lot more, for a player just glancing the map, seeing a river between two houses, you know where the border is. It's the river. Or there's a mountain range that separates, two houses. Whoever lives here, this like hill will be a natural barrier. So that's probably what the border is. So I'm gonna have to make something visually to define that more clear. Especially because I want to have plot points in the game that focus around expanding territories. Or trying to exude your influence in other areas, other regions. So I'm gonna have to come up with some UI trick to show you where the boundaries are. But I think it just serves us. It would serve a great additional purpose if the natural terrain features did that as well. And the other thing is find ways to have it less just be the edge of the world that you drop off, and I'll have to add the skybox, and I'm not using the right skybox right now. But like right now in the demo, you have this awkward, like, okay, this road leads to Bennington's High House, the seat of your High Lord. Where is it? It's just kind of in the, just picture it over there. This is so just like a cliff. All of it is. So I want to use terrain features now here to kind of make that easier. Maybe this hill, you know, this mountain, we raise it up and then we restrict the how high we can bring the camera in total. And that'll be a nice, like, okay, now sky meets land in a believable fashion. Or maybe if we render the map all the way out to like where the thin bay is that the Faraways attacked us on. That would be a good natural border, and I'll have to figure out, is there a clean way to have ocean meet sky, you know, it not just look like the world fell off a cliff, but and if it does, it's not the biggest issue at that point, you know. But having some natural barriers, I think. So I started off making this kind of longer, thinking. I've been referring to this as the Western Valley. That's the area your High Lord's in charge of. So, what I was feeling like is we could probably have like 2 tall mountain ranges on one on each side to make the valley of the valley area. And then I have to just figure out what to do with the ends. One could be, okay, you reach the ocean, the bay. That's one natural border. And then the other, maybe a big river, maybe, I don't really want to bookend it with 2 bodies of water. We'll think on it. And then, so, other than that, you know, World's our oyster. I kind of want to make some, like, visually, I want it to be clear, too, where the different houses live. You know, for us, it's pretty easy to have, you know, we've got this kind of miniature valley nestled between 2, you know, forested hills, where we got our farmland, we've got where the town sits, and, you know, we can paint textures on it to communicate that too. And you know, I kind of roughed this in, so I'm not married to these hills specifically. We don't have to keep them. But I kind of like, what if, because we need to place in some houses. We're gonna have our house, the Carl Bridge house, which, narratively is on the other side of the river so far. And I think I'm gonna have this river like start up in the hills from like a small lake and then wind down to the bay, so that everything on the other side of the river is House Carl Bridge. So I can see that. So Carl Bridge lives up here, we're here. You know, maybe a house lives over here. One of Marketh, or I forget the other name. Stork? I don't think I named that house Stork. But, CPU House 2 and 3, you know, living here, maybe here, with the High Lord kind of in a central spot along the bay. So maybe over here, with access to both the river and the ocean. Because they would need to have a seat of power, and most of the time that involves some kind of port activity. Okay, so I think we've got some big block ideas. You know, river winding through here. Mountains on each, you know, the long sides. A bay up here. And then we can block in some spaces for houses, and with some kind of feature in between. Whether it could just be forest too. It doesn't have to be a hill feature. So I think I'm gonna play around with this. I'll probably talk a little bit less so I can ramp up the speed of the video, so it's less tedious, because this is probably gonna be a tedious process. But I'm gonna pop in, hopefully, with tidbits about what I'm learning as I'm using these tools, or frustrations. Well, yeah, let's actually get to using it. So if you're I'll highlight first though, if you're unfamiliar with the terrain editor, it's got a lot of cool things we can do. The paint terrain, you know, we can use some. It has all sorts of things. Erosion, sculpting, which I'm not sure how different that is from erosion. We're probably gonna play with a lot of these. Set height, that literally you pick a height and then you can make a nice flat surface. Raise or lower terrain. Transform. Twist and pinch, I'm assuming that's kind of like if a giant grabbed the ground and did something to it. We'll see. We got some effects. We can paint holes, stamp terrain, smooth height, all sorts of stuff. And then we can also paint trees, which I'll be doing to, you know, block in. Ooh, boy, that's a little dense. But we'll paint in some forests, as well as details. You know, right now, the only detail has been wait, details? I thought, where's the paint textures? Was that in the tree? No? There's a way to paint textures, too. Where the heck is painting oh, paint textures is under paint terrain. So that's how we get the different layers on here. And we'll block in some area. Like, I'll probably just put big dirt patches where the houses belong. Houses meaning the whole house family kind of thing. They're their hometown, not individual houses. We're not going to get that great or granular yet. And then all sorts of settings for the terrain as a whole, but we're probably not going to touch that too much. Okay, yeah. Let's roll. Jesus. Okay, that's a bit strong for that brush. Okay. So playing around with some of the erosion effects quick, you can really... This is like as if the wind was coming from that direction, so you see it's buffeting this side a lot different than this side. Which kind of like, in theory. I don't see myself using that. Oh, we got a lot of undo clicks to do though. There we go. Just trying to see what, because I don't really want it to be too jaggedy. I did something to smooth stuff out when I was playing around over here. It evidently was not wind though. Was it thermal? I'm getting like kind of a line pattern forming on it, but it doesn't. Well, actually that came out kind of nice. It's really strong, but oh, gee, nope, not brush size. Let's turn it to 1. It does something a little weird at the edge. Water transporting, redistributing sediment. Okay. Oh my! Oh. That's something. Let's tone down the strength of that. Just does it to the whole circle. We made it like splotchy. There might be something to do with that, but must have been the smooth. I think I was just using smooth height before. Yeah, actually, I like thermal a lot. I think that might be the best technique for us. Of wanting not hot, because I was discussing this actually with my buddies. Do I want to have the terrain reflect the low poly art style of everything else? You know, all the meeples and houses and buildings are very polygonal still. I mean, just look at the trees, for Pete's sakes. You know, very blocky. But I think I like having some of it be hilly. You could smooth some of it out a little bit. But having it be smooth hills. But I think the key there is I would prefer smooth. So, like, kind of looking real closely here, we see some, you know, rippling effect of however I was working with the terrain doing this. So if we like smooth this out a little bit, like that looks natural to me. That looks nice. Looks like you know, we had a few bumpy stuff going on over here too that could iron out a little bit. Some of it's okay, but like this, you know, warpediness here, we touch that up. That looks better. I just think that the smoother is better than a lot of jaggedy shapes, because if I'm not gonna do flat faces, more I was gonna say more, you know, lower poly actually. Then I think I don't want a lot of jagged details, because that would just clash. And maybe I'm wrong on that, but that's at least where I am right now. Okay, I don't think I'm leaving this mountain here. Just kind of learning how to make a mountain in the big space. I did block in some extra terrain. And the reason is that if you're going to work with terrain near the edge, because the tool, once it gets off the terrain, and if you're off terrain and you click, now you're not in the terrain editor anymore in the inspector. So some of these are probably, you might get deleted as I work on stuff near the edges. And that'll be fine. But like to make something like this, it's a lot easier if you have this terrain chunk here, build it, and then throw that away. Okay. Gonna start blocking in the big mountains now, I think. So let's erase some stuff. Okay. Let's chime in for a second here. Or check in. So I had a couple thoughts as I was laying this in. Some of this is gonna get trimmed, like you know, this entire row of terrains on the left here. Just gonna trim that out. Once we've got this mountain range figured out. I think I'm actually shaping the valley more like a U. Because I think the main way in is actually gonna be down here. I'm picturing kind of like an artificial, like this is where the main road's gonna come in. And there'll be something kind of making this path a little treacherous if you want to get from whoever lives here to our area. But this will be like kind of like a fortified spot. And the house that lives here, that will be like their main one of their main duties is protecting our roadway. And then we can tuck another house in kind of like this pocket. Something could be going on in this pocket here. Gonna add more minor hills throughout, obviously. And then along this edge, I'm thinking we put in probably one more row so that the bay can kind of actually we can try to show it a little bit here. You know, the bay can be kind of like along here. Maybe it cuts in a little bit at spots, but overall, I'm gonna have to figure out. I want to figure out a different solution for water than just what I did over here, which was make it flat and paint blue on it. But I can already see the idea here of like we're carving this up a little bit better to be like a mountain river or lake that the river kind of comes down and flows through, passes by our water mill, kind of comes down through here and meanders its way along windy road to the bay. And so we've kind of blocked in the borders, which was kind of item number one. But we've also accomplished a couple other things. Being, I think House Bennington's gonna mostly be along the ocean here, with some small, something like that. And then, we got an area here. Might maybe make this even bigger. Like try to drag this mountain area out a little bit to give this a little bit more room. But this is, I gotta remember, this is a lot of space. Like I fit a whole town of us into this space. And it felt too big at times. Not too big, just like, man, I've got empty space. What am I doing with it? So the idea that I'm going to fill all of this up with interesting stuff is a bit intimidating. But we'll see. So, just, yeah, that's our plan right now. And I think we need to... Well, we can better shape and define where the houses fit as we drop in some of these additional features. So I'm gonna flatten out the bay area, maybe block in some more, and we'll worry about the jaggedness of all this in a minute. Smooth out a lot of this, because this is just, I'm not sure why it's popcorning like this a little bit. Popcorn? Reminds me of that popcorn texture that you get on some ceilings. So yeah, I cleaned that up a little bit, but yeah, that's and it's interesting to me that like as I'm filling some of this in, like some story or narrative elements are coming into view a little bit. Like, okay, you know, maybe we have this area is we could have something where you know, there should be a reason why if I'm gonna have the main road come this way, maybe there's like a reason we would redirect the main road to come through our town instead. It could be something happens over here that makes this stretch of road difficult. I don't know. But like I thought zero about like a main trade path and whatnot. So, or it could be as simple as maybe our road is just thin and narrow, but we put the effort, the money into making it cobblestone, paving it so that it's an easier trade run and provide protection along it as a way to like woo traders to come this way instead. So like I never would have, had never thought of that yet, but the idea of like, oh hey, I can box this in. Now I have 3 or 4 unique sides. One mountain range, a second mountain range, the bay, and this choke point that's going to be a very important military/economic spot on the map. So I'm just finding that very interesting that even just painting mountains in is making me think these things, or helping me come up, consider some of this stuff. I think all these on the right too, I'm gonna chop off. Kind of curious if I can like clean this up a little bit, where like, could I have the terrain just be not square? But maybe that's stuff I can just ignore with like camera tricks. I don't know. We'll think on these things later. I'm gonna keep painting some stuff in, and when I've got an interesting thing to say, I'll slow down. That's not looking too bad. I mean, it looks like shit, but I mean, visibly it looks like shit. Where the river is, doesn't feel too bad to me. Make like a nice little lake up here. Just wind around. Other thing I'm tempted to do is add in like another one of these. Up in like this hill and have it come down and meet. And then, you know, the Carlbridge family can make a little bit more sense because their town has a lot of bridges in it, and they maintain them, and they, yeah. Assuming people don't rename the houses, but that's a vision. Let's go ahead and actually, while we're painting terrain, we'll block in some rough like where I picture places going. So one thing I just learned about terrain, and this is interesting in general. So right now I've got the first terrain selected, my original home area. You'll notice that right now there's stone on top of dirt. If I switch this around in here, it's not actually keeping track of it's not keeping track of the actual texture that's there. It's keeping track of which number on the layer palette. Oh, ha! And I just realized you can't see what I'm talking about. Let me move me a little bit. So I'm talking about the layer palette that's down in this right here. So all I did to switch those is swap these around. So the terrain data is actually keeping track of what number on the layer palette is painted where. And if you swap them around, it actually just repaints that texture, which is endlessly interesting to me, because I expected like it to be, you know, we're talking about layers, so I was like, okay, you can define which layer paints on top of which layer. No, that's not at all what's happening here. In fact, I could take this stone layer and paint it on top of there, or I could take the dirt layer and paint it on top of there. So it's not at all like that. Interestingly enough, if I paint some dirt over here and some stone over here, and I come back and swap these, it does not swap those. Okay, interesting. And I noticed that because, like, as I'm selecting here, you'll see some of them only have the green base layer. Some of them will have those other layers in it, too. So, even though I'm able to paint fluidly across all of them, that's not always the case. Let's put me back. So just some fun with layers that I learned a while ago that running into again. So idea is I'm just gonna grab this dirt layer. Let's rough block in where we think those other towns are gonna be. So Carlbridge, it's gonna be somewhere over here. I don't think he's going to be near the watermill. Like, his town's not going to be up in the watermill's junk, because otherwise it would be weird for him to think that I want it to be a little strange that he's trying to contest this, like a little bullshitting. And if I do add another little river, it would make sense that his house sits... And I'm probably going to add more terrain to this area. Like, if we add another... Maybe it's like somewhere in here, you know? Around here will be the town, the keep, and then, you know, down here where likely gonna have some kind of commercial stuff going on around his I lost the brown. Yeah, he's gonna have some kind of commercial stuff going on along the river edge here. So maybe they've got kind of like two towns. Carl Bridge's house seat, meanwhile, not Carl Bridge, Bennington, you know, we're gonna probably just have it be all throughout here. Like, a much larger town, lot of hustle and bustle going on. And heck, maybe even a little bit of stuff going on over here. I don't know. It seems reasonable. Neighbors that are defending the gap. Oh, spam risk. You know, probably just gonna have like a fort here, but their actual home is gonna be like over here, maybe against this mountain. And then the last house. Do I want them actually tucked away in here? If I did, they could be like a mining focused house. Right? Could that work? That could be something. And I talked about wanting to maybe branch this, you know, a little over to make this gap area bigger. So let's try that. Yeah, let's just imagine that they're gonna be somewhere over here. So we've got our major houses kind of falling into place. And actually, let's go ahead and do one more thing with this. The little patches of stone where the keeps are kind of set. You know, don't let me forget where like the keeps are. You know, maybe somewhere here. Carl Bridge's keep will actually be like in town. This is just a footpad area that could do something really cool here with like a a keep that like overlooks the water, maybe. Yeah, something like that. I like that. Yeah, let's I think I'm gonna spend a little bit more time sprinkling in some stuff kind of in the middle here. And then we might wrap it up a little bit, wrap the video up at least. I'm not gonna call this done. I'm gonna be tweaking this for a long time, trust me. But yeah. Oh, another fun fact in case you get a little worried. If you're painting terrain or painting texture, sometimes the trees and details will go away so that you can see the ground better. That freaked me out once because I thought my trees were lost, and no, they're still there. Okay, I think we're gonna call this decent for now, at least. I think there's a lot of good potential here. You watched me kind of block in some lower hills. We worked out kind of the pocket that this town's gonna live in. And blocked in some trees to kind of give me a feel for it. I think the idea is this lowland will be where like the main road is, with miscellaneous farms and maybe an inn or two, maybe some guard posts, and do something to make it clear that your land's kind of and around here-ish, and this middle area might just kind of be no man's land? Not no man's land. Still under High Lord Bennington. Like his rule, but maybe if you chose to like pursue maintaining the road, you could try to get the main road to go through your lands, or have the main road, you know, be in charge of security along the main road. Kind of lean into that bandit problem that I teased in the prologue. At least that's one idea. Since I'm not done smoothing some of this stuff out and working on the edges, I'm not going to delete these extra ones yet. I think it's mainly just going to be shoop and shoop. But yeah, this is going to be the land of the Western Valley. With Modest Little House Storm, or whatever name I end up landing on, will live. I think, in general, the terrain tool is super cool. I'm going to regret putting all those trees down, because I'm going to rework the trees to respect the wind, so these trees aren't going to stay, but we can clear them out nice and easy. Just wanted to give myself a better feel of what land there is. Might clear out these trees so that this can all be farmland, and connect these two areas up, and have House Carlbridge and House whatever down here be the two major ones, and you and this little mining one be the smaller ones, with House Bennington being the big deal. But yeah, this is coming together. I was able to roughly describe what I was picturing early on, but some of these things definitely came to fruition, like this kind of minor hill system in the middle here to clarify distinctly your two neighbor areas. Maybe this will be like a hunting forest on this downside over here. And then you might have a dispute over hunting rights in these woods. Not sure. Maybe you'll have to deal with some poachers. Could be. As they say on one of my favorite shows, make some noise. Could be fun. And I say, as they say, but they said it in one episode. But now I'm rambling. Thank you for hanging out. Hopefully I have you'll see this area get fleshed out and a lot more exciting as the days go on. But also let me know if you've got any feedback on this type of content. Get in the comments. I suppose get in the comments makes it sound like you're angry about something, but anyway, have a great day.